This model kit reviews of the P-38J Lightning. It's a World War II plane, and it is by Revell, and it is 1/48 scale. And here we see the colors needed, and some very nice pictures of the finished model. Looks like there are two different options to build. Another picture there, and there are the dimensions. Let's have a look inside. First of all, here's our cockpit glass. Fair amount of little pieces there, but looks like it's fairly well molded. This looks like an older kit, probably from monogram days. You don't have that protective sprue around it, and this plastic doesn't feel like the usual Revell one. You can see when this mold was made. It's a 1964. A lot of surface detail actually, but it's all raised. These all raised rivet and power lines. We do some mold lines pretty much most places around. So there's the lower wing, and the one propeller, and there's a lot of mold lines and really all these parts here, as you can see there. Air intakes. Here we have our two pilots. And landing gear. On this one here we have another propeller and the other landing gear. Some of the wheel well covers there. Here's the one fuselage boom. Fair amount of detail, all raised unfortunately. Nothing really on the inside. There's the other boom and our tail stabilizer. Some engine cowls and some additional little pieces. Here we have our fuel tanks, back part of the canopy, two options for the nose. You can have it with or without the cannons, and looks like probably part of our cockpit. We have some weapons, and here's the top part of the wings. Again, a fair amount of surface detail, but it's all raised. We also have, this is molded in black. And we have the exhaust for the engines. We have our bombs, wheels, guns. Looks like an instrument panel, radio, our seat. There's a fair amount of detail on here. Let's have a look at our, the decals. And these are very nicely printed actually. And a fair amount of detail on those decals. Here are the, here's the paint guide. We start off with, so it looks like there are three different options. There's a night fighter version, a pathfinder version, and a fighter bomber version. So we start off with the cockpit, and the cockpit actually has, looks like it's a fair amount of detail, and it all has to be built in. There's the radio, and our cockpit's then put in place. Next we have the back part of the cockpit. That's all put together inside the wings. There's a fair amount of extra work to be done here. The wings are then put together. Landing gear are put together. That's the nose gear. Here's the main gear inside the boom. Then the wings are put onto the booms. And the propellers are put on. Then the tail. Canopy goes on. And there's the different options. We have the guns. And we can have the gun bay open if you wanted to. And a gunner. And fuel tanks and bombs go on, as well as rockets. And then here's the night version. And here are the other two versions. So this is an older kit. Looks like there's a fair amount of detail for both the gun bay and the cockpits. Many of the details though are raised, including the rivet lines and panel lines.